Yo, what is going on YouTube? I'm VGTV and today we will be talking about the debate between Vegan Gains and Baring. Over the last 2 weeks, Richard and Baring have made some criticizing videos about each other, ultimately resulting in a live debate. Next to Richard and Baring, Jack Queen, another vegan YouTuber and crowd who has a commentary/anti-Islam channel, participated. I personally think Richard did a really good job arguing and driving Baring and crowd into the corner, even making them admit that there is no good reason against veganism and saying it's only because they don't give a fuck. But I still want to add some points here and there. Although Richard says that the debate is based on an ethical standpoint, I'm gonna factor in some points considering the environment or personal health, like Baring and crowd also did. Oh, and also the debate should have been called Vegan Gains vs Crowd because he clearly leads the anti-veganism side of the debate, despite being vegetarian and having a vegan girlfriend. What Baring says can mostly be boiled down to
No, it's, look, yeah,
We live in a society that's alleviated all sorts of pains, but yet still, I smoke 30 cigarettes a day.
smoking is a personal choice, as is eating meat, but there is a huge difference between the two. Like Richard and Jack say, by smoking you only hurt yourself. By eating meat you harm an innocent animal, your health and our environment. Despite meat being socially accepted at this time, it won't be in the near future. Looking back 40 years, our meat consumption quadrupled, and the huge growth in animal agriculture is just unsustainable for our planet. At this rate, climate change will fuck us real soon. For those who don't know, animal agriculture is responsible for the emission of over 50% of greenhouse gases. Things have to change over time, and things that are broadly socially accepted today don't have to be right. Not just morally, but also concerning the planet. Sadly, that only counts for the Western world as of today. Looking at China, they six-folded their meat consumption over the last few decades, while slowly adapting the Western culture more and more. They also don't give a fuck about the environment, so we can't expect them to change that. Actually, rather the opposite. So the prognosis is that their meat consumption will grow even more exponentially.
Maybe he really just doesn't give a fuck. Maybe it's not a fallback answer. Maybe he just really doesn't give a fuck. Because I guarantee you that most people in our societies don't give a fuck.
Well, maybe you're not really in the position to do this anymore, considering the environmental threat. Also, many more people would give a fuck if they did research or get enlightened by the media, which won't happen because the meat industry is way too big. There's a ton of propaganda going on, which Richard shortly addresses while talking about the Whole Foods scandal. In my opinion, many would change their habits because they never thought about the consequences of their food choices in the first place, which is why we need education on the topic.
I grew up on a farm. I knew small farmers all my life who kept chickens and cows and pigs. I slaughtered pigs and chickens myself. It's something that it's not necessarily an evil thing.
Looking at a farm that doesn't do animal agriculture for money, just for self-sustain, there is no way that they consume as much meat as your average meat eater. They just can't afford to slaughter their farm animals on a daily, because they don't have enough. Also, they don't pump growth hormones and antibiotics into them. Classical animal agriculture is just focused on getting the most amount of meat in the shortest amount of time, whatever the cost, which is why it's so harmful for our planet and health.
There's a battle between species on Earth. There always has been.
Battle between species, not between humans and any other one. We got no natural enemies, and we are not carnivores, so we don't need to kill. Simple as that.
Do you know that South American Native Americans didn't have the horse, and that it contributed majorly to them being wiped out by the Spanish? Right. Domesticating animals, using animals for our needs has been a very substantial part of building our civilization.
You're always going back to the appeal to tradition fallacy. Really? You got nothing better?
No, actually, if you want to eat dogs, go ahead.
No,
well, I mean, it's done in the southern Chinese area around Hong Kong.
Well, that's the funny
they eat dogs.
Yeah.
Eating meat is mostly based on tradition, or how you grow up. Children will eat whatever you give them, and get used to it, thereby normalizing meat consumption. Growing up I ate a ton of meat because it was normal in our family, but now that my brain is developed well enough, I realize it's just unnecessary. Even Baring brings up that the personal experience with different kinds of animals can make you feel higher about them.
My partner, Sugar Tits, is, she saw a pig get slaughtered when she was only 8 or 10 or something, and she only recently has been able to eat bacon sparingly again. So I imagine it would have an effect on you. Yeah.
And the gutting a chicken is really ugh.
Did you
have to
watch this happen when you were like before you did that?
Yeah, my dad showed me. Taught
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Like, you've never thought to yourself, like, this is kind of weird, maybe, or no?
Nah, because dinner.
That you're killing an animal.
No, dinner. That's all that I thought. Later on, I was annoyed because of the feather shit, because that's the most annoying part of slaughtering a chicken.
Early age experiences with slaughter hugely desensitize someone, which is probably why Kraut just doesn't give a fuck at all anymore. So basically the next hour is a huge circle fuck of Richard and Kraut discussing if animal abuse is something you can just say, I don't give a fuck to. It's boiled down to Kraut saying it's morally acceptable if it's socially accepted and overturnable, which is dog shit. Just listen to this part.
Slavery went. Where did slavery go?
It doesn't matter. We're not talking about where
It
history
does
went.
matter.
We're talking about whether or not it was morally justified.
It does matter, because slavery was overturned. Slavery was abolished. The rights and liberties of all
Okay,
men
well,
were
sorry,
extended to
we're
slaves.
living here now in the present time. We can't go into the future.
Look where slavery went. And look where animal agriculture is taking us. Slavery lasted for a long-ass time before it got forbidden. Way longer than the excessive animal agriculture we have today. You can't say it's not comparable to slavery because it got turned over eventually, after hundreds of years, when it's happening right now. He earlier even admitted to know about environmental problems, so I don't get why he can't think about the future and see that our current food choices will fuck us in the ass eventually. He's just so focused on defending his point that he can't think logically. Slavery was in the past and got overturned because it was immoral, and the way animal agriculture works today will get overturned in the future because it is immoral, and it's terrible for your health and the environment.
It's just I don't care.
repeating the line. You keep repeating. No, it's not. We don't care.
Yeah,
It
like,
is.
this
We
is
are better. We are civilization.
We don't care, we are better. You think you're better because you put yourself over them. Kinda sounds like someone I know. Okay, maybe that's a bit hypocritical. But you put yourself on this high pedestal and think that just because you're superior, you can do whatever you want to animals? That makes no sense. I'm not saying all animals are equal to us, but they are still not dirt and solely there for our pleasure.
It's the one thing that separates us from animals. The fact that we have a written history, the fact that we have culture,
Okay, but
the
why?
fact that we have
But why does that justify
governance
you
system.
killing them needlessly?
Because, well,
We
not
have
necessarily
governments, blah blah
me.
blah. I can kill them. Like this
Yeah.
isn't an explanation.
it is an explanation because it is a testament to our superiority as a species.
Again, might makes right. Okay, so that's your argument.
Yes, we can be separated from animals. Yes, we are superior. Just because you're superior, you don't have to kill. If you don't have to do it. Just because it tastes good. What the fuck? So that's all I wanted to add. Overall, I have to say that I really enjoyed the debate, despite being a bit triggered about the ignorance in the last third. It just wasn't a real debate anymore. Just saying I don't give a fuck and I do things because I can is not a valid argument, but whatever. I don't think that was the last debate. Keep putting out great content, Richard. Oh, and don't forget to turn down the volume.
I'm triggered!